I'm not a cool person. I've always wanted to be a cool person. I sometimes surround myself with cool people just maybe to give the illusion that I am a cool person, but it's at my core, it's just not who I am. And I once tried to be cool. In my mid-20s, when I was living on minimum wage, I went to New York and I went to go visit my friend Tash, who was living over there doing a bit of a stint after uni. She was cool. She was like working in like a real cool schwanky kind of restaurant, and she was moonlighting singing at cabaret bars, like a cool person. And and one of the nights that I was there, she was singing at this like speakeasy, and I went along to watch it, and she invited all of her friends. They were cool. They were like super edgy and like, you know, trendy and like, intimidatingly good looking, like New York people are, I don't know. And Tash sang, she was incredible. She brought the house down, so we decided we're gonna go celebrate afterwards. And one of the girls there invited us all back to her apartment to drink some more, and it was in Hell's Kitchen, which is a cool area, which I found out. And once we got there, we found out that we weren't actually allowed, as she told us, we weren't allowed into her apartment, but we were allowed to hang out in her lobby, which, firstly, that's a pretty big power move to pull on a group of people. But also, this lobby was like nothing else. It was huge. It felt like a movie set. It was about the size of like a basketball court. It super high ceilings. Just think like lots of brown leather and mahogany and a fireplace, and it wasn't a bearskin rug, but I imagine there should have been, kind of sitting there. And very cool spot, and lots of places for us to sit and mingle, but we decided we'd just go hang out at the big boardroom table. And this big boardroom table had about 20 seats around it or so, and above it had these like cool lights that were hanging down, the like hand-blown kind of glass orbs, like dangling balls, just all up and down this table. And as we sat down, you know, the drinks start flowing and the music's playing, and it didn't take long at all for like these cool people to start using it as their dance floor. And all of a sudden, table dancing started. One by one, they hopped up and they were doing these cool moves. Like, even though they were just by themselves, it felt choreographed somehow. And I'm just looking up at them, like in awe, like, shit, that's cool. And they kept dancing, and eventually, after like the last one got up on stage, they start chanting my name. It's like, Dave, Dave, Dave. And I was thinking, yeah, this is it. This is it. I'm going to be one of you guys now. I'm like making serious eye contact with the person on the table. Going, yeah, I know. I'm about to do this stuff. And so I hop up on stage, and I give it my all. Hey, like I let loose. It was fantastic what I was doing. I was like ducking in and out of those dangling balls like they were like lasers in a museum that I was trying to break into, and I was just pulling out moves I've never done in my life before. And at the height of my euphoria, as I'm like still keeping serious eye contact with people, thinking I've made it, I'm right here, I decided to end the show with, I guess, called like a slut drop. And so I threw one arm in the air, and my knees went down and my ass shot backwards, and it made contact with one of the dangling balls, which then swung into the next one. And so with a pretty loud popping noise, I heard some of the glass hit around my feet on the table. Everyone went pretty quiet, and the concierge from the lobby came in, and he saw me standing on the table like that with the glass from my feet, and he very politely and coolly asked us all to leave. And I apologized profusely to the girl whose apartment it was, and as well as my friend Tash for being that embarrassing Australian friend. And we found out a bit later in the night that to fix those lights, it was going to cost like $1,500 US. And I, being on a shoestring budget, I had about $800 Australian to last me the next week until I got to Canada to start an $11 an hour job. So that was cool. And then one of the girls, like, she was super nice. She went, oh, don't worry about it for now. Let's just go to a club. We'll be fine. I really didn't need to go to a club in my state at that point. But I do remember at 1 a.m., walking into a florist, and there were two little ladies just like arguing with each other at that florist, and we walked through and they ignored us. We walked through the back, opened up the door into a huge, loud nightclub. And we were met there by a huge, loud bouncer who knew the people that I was with by name because they were cool. And so he escorted us through this huge club to another big, huge guy who was like leaning against the wall, and he opened up the door behind him, like secretly, like Fonzie at the jukebox. Just. By the way, cool people really love Happy Days references, if you ever want to know. So Mega Fonz led us into the next bar, which was it was like a lot smaller and more stylish and everything. And we walked in, and one of the guys went up and got me a drink, and he walked back to the group, handed me my beer, and he said to us all, but most definitely directed at me, "All right, guys, we need to behave here. This is a very exclusive place." To which I instantly dropped my beer on the concrete floor. And it didn't smash on the ground, as you might think. But what had happened was it stayed intact as the beer, as I was looking at everybody, kind of came up to about eye level and then splashed on the ground over everybody. Which I think was much more spectacular, by the way. So the next morning I woke up. I was just, what the hell happened last night? That was not cool. Bit of a groan, and I said to myself I was just going to lay low that day. My flight to Canada was the day after that, so I just had to make it through. I was just going to be chill, lay low, safe choices. And so I had my breakfast. I went out the window onto the fire escape and had a cigarette, and I decided that was going to be my cool New York moment, you know, like just looking out over the city like a cool person. So I did that. I put it out, went back inside, closed the window, went to the couch and had a nap. Safe choices. Less than an hour after I closed my eyes, I woke up to the sound of New York Fire Department. So for a bit of context, Tash lived in a small apartment about 5 stories up over this quite crowded little street. And it was in the Lower East Side, which was kind of your first turn off after you entered Manhattan on the Williamsburg Bridge from Brooklyn. And it's a pretty cool and like trendy area. You don't really have to worry about crime when you're walking around, but what you do sometimes have to worry about is flames falling from the sky because some dickhead has put out a cigarette into a rag on a fire escape 5 stories above you, left it on the fire escape, gone inside and had a nap while it's caught alight and then narrowly missed people below, which was cool. And so luckily there was no evidence there that it was our apartment or anything like that. And there was maintenance kind of happening around on the rooftops near us. So they kind of attributed it to that, and that was all right. And so after they left, I just kind of went, I am not leaving that fucking couch. I'm staying there. Flights tomorrow, just stay there. Don't do anything. Watch TV all day. You'll be fine. And so that we did. And until that afternoon, sitting watching TV, safe choices with Tash, and all of a sudden again, New York City Police Department. And Tash looked at me and went, "What the fuck have you done?" I don't know. Theft? I'm ticking one thing off at a time, and I just don't know what else I could do right now. And so it turns out that the flames falling from the sky required a little bit more investigation because, as we found out, when a fire department gets a call out, they need to send out at least 2 or 3 trucks at a time. And so not only did it kind of block off that little street that Tash lived on, but the overflow traffic then kind of blocked traffic for an hour on New York City's 3rd busiest street. All I could think to say was, "Oh, geez, I hope you find out what happened there, because that's..." So before I somehow ended up in Rikers, I headed to the airport the next morning, got out of New York, headed to Canada, where I thought, well, maybe Canada's where I'm going to find out where I'm cool, you know? But a month later, as I'm standing at the bus stop waiting to go to my $11 an hour job, and I'm wearing my beanie, my gloves, and 5 layers on top because it's minus 30 degrees out, I remember thinking to myself, this might be just a little bit too cool.